I think for students to succeed, they have to feel like this learning is relevant to them and that there is a connection to this place and the other students and to their teachers. And sometimes that can be challenging in a big classroom. I regularly teach 300-400 students. How can you actually bring that to life and actually allow students the possibility of making the connections they need to actually bring their learning to life? So one of my specialties, and I've been working on for many years now, is around how do you bring active learning into the classroom? How do you do it in a way that students can meaningfully engage, that they feel comfortable engaging in active learning spaces, because often this isn't an easy thing to do. And actually part of that is actually developing a pedagogy which allows for those relationships, because at the heart of all my teaching now is really focused on that relational learning. And that relational learning is not just about student to student, it's student to staff member, student to their wider community. Can they bring in ideas and examples that are relevant to where they come from? And also students having a relationship with the places that they're in and the context that they're in.
She has students working in teams, for example, and over a period of several weeks, in lectures and then through tutorials, they will build that relationship, they'll gain the background understanding, they'll have the materials at their fingers that they need to tackle the topics.
What you find by sort of halfway through the semester or sort of 8 weeks into the semester, we're nearing the end of the semester, you give them the deeper level tasks that you might want them to engage in. So one of my examples I try and use often, it's a favourite of mine in my teaching. I tend to use, because of the nature of my content, simulations of real life situations, role-playing particular aspects. What I would encourage them to do is take on a role which wasn't their own, so they felt a level of distance with that, and they had to draw on the theory to do this. I realised that sometimes that wasn't enough because they were quite anxious about role plays. So one of the things I did, which was really key to my teaching, was bringing myself into the classroom and into the role plays.
I've had the opportunity to be present for some of those role-playing activities, and it's really interesting to see how the students inhabit these roles and how they can be acting in ways that are wildly different to their own personalities. But then afterwards they can shake it off, and the rest of their team will support them and congratulate them rather than thinking, oh, that person said something that's really bad, because they know what they're doing, which is great.
How Mel does it is very novel. It transforms the classroom. It's a really new experience for a lot of students, where she becomes almost another recipient as part of the process, where she tries to dismantle those walls, essentially, where it's not just Mel as a lecturer and students as a student, but she becomes part of the class, and there's a really strong collaboration between students and Mel as well.
By bringing myself into the classroom, and students would often write the most appalling roles for me. They'd give the hardest role or the most controversial role for me. They'd usually give me a name tag to read or something like that. And what that did was just a moment of humour, and which is written about extensively in the literature, which I love. If you can bring humour and a level of softness and gentleness to what is actually a difficult topic, it's a win all round, and that was the real sea change to my teaching.
From my observation, Mel's approach is dynamic, it's transparent, and it's overtly critical in the sense of raising questions. So I've taught with her in courses over the years, and what I observe is that she brings a dynamism that students often don't quite expect, and so there's a sense of surprise, there's a sense of engagement, and there's a sense at the end of the course of just about all students coming to a better understanding of who they are in the world.
But I actually genuinely enjoy teaching with younger people because it makes me younger, it keeps my ideas, the energy and the liveliness that they bring to the classroom. I love that, and I find every year when I go in the room and I meet a new class, I think, goodness, can I find the energy, and am I going to be able to inspire them? But actually, it's not about me inspiring them. It's actually about them bringing themselves into the classroom and really adding to that educational sort of learning space. And I love that moment when they understand something, or they make that critical connection which allows them to move on to their next step in learning.